Félicitations à la Grèce, le prochain participant ira représenter la Suisse.
And we continue our coverage of the 2023 Mondioring World Cup MR2 Grand Prix. This time we have our team from Switzerland, Gabriela, and her dog, OGGY. And they will be competing in level 2. Welcoming Gabriela to the field is the Deputy Judge Willems Langlois of France. The Deputy Judge guides the handler as they go through the different trial exercises. Gabriela will now get a piece of wood which she will mark with her scent. Her dog will have to identify this piece of wood among identical pieces in the scent discrimination exercise. Willems is supervising her as she marks the wood with her signature. It's now time to meet the trial officials. The judges for this trial are Manuel Olivera and Marc Willems. Unfortunately, there's an issue with the sound system in the stadium, but Gabriela is introducing herself and her dog. She has chosen the Palisade as her jump of choice, and she will be calling her dog by whistle. The first exercise is the food refusal, which is worth 10 points in level 2. The food official drops the first piece of food, and the second will be presented just in front of the dog's nose. In level 2, there are also 6 other pieces of food scattered across the field that the dog must ignore. Next exercise is the healing. The healing exercise is worth 6 points. The dog was distracted by the smoke. Then the handler kind of stopped to look at the dog, and the judge considered this a double command, so she got 0/6 for this exercise. Next exercise is the send away. The optimal zone is between the two bulls. The dog went through the optimal zone but did a zigzag movement towards the end, which the judge penalized for 1 point. Next exercise is the retrieve of an object. This exercise has an added difficulty of the handler sitting down while the object is thrown. Full points for this exercise. Now we have the absence of handler. The dog has to down in a tight spot between the barrels. The handler will walk out of sight and a distraction will be made. In this trial, the distraction is someone ringing a bell from behind the dog. The dog stayed in a down the whole time and will get full points for this exercise. Next is the scent discrimination or little wood exercise. As you may recall, in the beginning of the trial, the handler marked her scent on a piece of wood. The dog now needs to find that piece of wood among 3 other identical pieces of wood. As you can see, the little wood is placed inside the fence next to the plastic pig. This adds a challenging element to the little wood exercise. The judge noticed that the dog was chewing on the wood as he was bringing it back and penalized him 1 point. Finally, we are on to the change of positions exercise. In level 2, the dog needs to make 3 position changes and it would be 3 points per position change. The initial position is a down. Not sure if you can notice the very spirited Portuguese crowd in the background. Maybe someone in the comments can translate what they're saying for me. Down to a sit, sit to a stand, and stand to a down. Then the handler recalls the dog. In one of the positions, the handler had to give the command twice, which means she lost all 3 points for that particular position. After the obedience exercises, we now go to the jumps. In level 2, you get to choose between the long jump and the palisade. After the jump, you have the option to stabilize or recall. If you decide to stabilize, the dog has to be in a stable position until you come pick it up. Next is the hurdle, which is mandatory in the level 2. Full points for this exercise.
It will happen at the same place as the veterinary checkup starting at 2 p.m. Okay? Concernant la super sélection des hommes assistants, pour l'inscription et donner les documents des hommes assistants, on se retrouvera à l'attente où a été fait l'inspection vétérinaire. Rendez-vous à 2 heures.
The dog stayed on too long for 2 seconds and lost 4 points. Ideally, the dog has to let go as soon as he hears the whistle. Then we go to the defensive handler exercise. In the spirit of fairness, the defensive handler scenario is only determined before the trial. That way, no one can train in advance for it. And the scenario has to be the same for all dogs in the same level. Those little movements that the decoy do has to be the same for all dogs. The decoys for this trial are Yoann Lebreton in the red and white from France and Kilian Franc in the red and black from Belgium. The FCI Mondioring Commission has guidelines for selecting the decoy in the World Championships. Whenever possible, they try to do it in such a way that the 2 decoys are from different countries. This ensures that no one country has an advantage over the other. The dog stayed on for 3 seconds after the out command was given and lost 6 points. Next exercise is the search and escort. In this exercise, the dog and handler leaves the field, then the decoy hides somewhere inside the field, and the dog has to find where the decoy is hidden. When the dog finds the decoy, he has to bark to indicate the discovery to the handler. At this point, the handler will ask the decoy to step out and the escort can begin. The decoy will follow a predetermined path and try to escape when he gets a chance. The dog will lose 1 point for every meter that the decoy escapes. In the first escape, the decoy managed to take 2 meters. It was also noted that the dog stayed on for 1 second after the out command and will be penalized points for that. You only lose 1 point per meter, but you lose 2 points per second biting after the out command or if the dog bites outside of an escape. So it's also important that your dog learns to escort cleanly without any extra bites or dirty bites. Two meters lost in that one, but again the dog stayed on longer than he should. We occasionally get dogs that are very good and very vigilant in preventing the decoy from escaping, but because they don't escort cleanly and they have a lot of dirty bites, they still lose a lot of points. I'm not saying that's the case with this dog, but that's something to take note of as we cover more dogs in this World Championship. In level 2, one of the escapes is done over the obstacle. And that's what the decoy is trying to do here. He'll be using the obstacle to put meters between him and the dog. He's allowed to use the obstacle up to 3 times. The decoy managed to escape a total of 7 meters. The dog stayed on the bite for an extra 5 seconds. And there was 1 bite outside of the escape. Next exercise is the face over the obstacle. There was a 1 second delay between entry and the dog actually getting the bite, so that was a 2-point penalty. The last exercise is the accessories. They used an interesting accessory in this trial. Rubber rings linked together to form a barrier. The dog has to go through this barrier to engage with the decoy. There was another 1 second delay between entry and the dog getting the bite. So the judge gave it a 2-point penalty. Total score is 247.5 with a rating of sufficient.